Hey there, you awesome people. I hope your day has been nothing short of fantastic. Welcome back to a brand new episode of What If Deku ate the Gomu Gomu no Mi. Izuku used to be quirkless, but that all changed when he sunk his teeth into an unusual fruit, granting him the power to stretch his body like rubber. With this newfound ability, he's on a quest to become the ultimate hero. Don't forget to shower some appreciation onto the incredible author responsible for this fanfiction. The link is conveniently waiting for you in the description box down below. If you're totally vibing with this what if scenario, drop me a comment and let your thoughts be known. And while you're at it, don't miss out on other mind-blowing what ifs on this channel. Alright, without further ado, let's dive straight into this video. Izuku rushed towards the meeting lobby, wearing his brown suit with a white short-sleeved undershirt and green vest with a green tie. He had been about to wear a cheap bow tie, only to see that All Might had presented him a tie that was already tied, so he could just put it over his head. "Sorry I'm late," exclaimed Izuku as he rushed in. "Huh. Wait, where's everybody else? They're not here yet. What do they think attending as a group means?" huffed Tenya as he chopped the air, wearing a blue suit with a yellow tie. Shoto stood at the side, wearing a white suit with a red tie. Kaminari, Kasei, and Minetta wore their waiter clothes, as they hadn't expected the invitation to such a party, and thus hadn't prepared any formal wear. Just as he said that the entrance door opened to reveal the rest of the girls walking in. "Sorry we're late," apologized to Chako as she walked in with the rest of the girls, wearing a pink dress, black stockings, a pearl necklace, and a flower on her head. "I apologize, but Jiro," stated Momo with a smile while Jiro hid behind her nervously. Momo wore yellow with a hint of green long dress that not only left her arms bare, but also hugged her curves in the right place, while giving a good glimpse of her cleavage. Though it wasn't like she wasn't used to someone seeing them considering her usual hero suit. Her hair was tied up elegantly with a small golden hairband on it. "I'm not used to clothes like this," said Kyoka hesitantly, wearing a dark pink skirt with a small black jacket over the blouse. Her hair was also styled quite differently from what she was used to. "Thanks to Momo, we had some choices to go over," commented Itsuka as she stepped in, wearing a light blue dress that left her shoulders and arms bare, "and we have a surprise here too." "Kiro, Takage was nice enough to let me take her place," chimed Suyu as she walked forward, wearing a green with white frills on the edges, showcasing her legs a bit. "Nice, nice, nice," cheered the perverted trio, looking at all the girls except for Kyoka, though Denki did take a longer peek as Kyoka. Kyoka punished the wanna perverts with her jacks to their ears, while Itsuka chopped Kasei's neck. "It's my first time wearing such formal clothes," blushed Chako as she approached Izuku. "I had to borrow this from Momo." "Do I look good?" "Of course," exclaimed Izuku, sending a Chako in a flurry of blush as she turned around waving her arms around. "Oh, Deku. You don't have to flatter me," said Chako, unable to face Izuku. "Then what about us?" pouted Itsuka as she suddenly prowled up in front of Izuku, as did Momo and Suyu. "You all look really beautiful," hesitated Izuku, blushing at how close the girls were now, as well as being able to divert his eyes at them all. "What is this? Why are they all going to him?" muttered Kasei as Denki and Minetta joined in the huddle. "You don't think?" gasped Minetta as his perverted mind landed on the first possible scenario. "I didn't think it was possible in real life," gasped Denki as he managed to pin down what Minetta was thinking. "He got himself a hop," began Kasei when Tenya interrupted their little session, lecturing them about gossiping about their classmates, when he felt a tug behind him. "How do I look?" asked Yui, wearing a conservative blue dress that managed to showcase her curves, while matching Tenya's color tones. "Ah," spoke Tenya glibly, unable to really produce a sound. The door opened once more, causing Kasei, Minetta, and Denki to forget their previous line of thought, as they saw the American beauty walking in with a blue dress with a light lavender miniskirt. Melissa forwent the glasses, opting to wear contacts with her hair tied up elegantly. She wore a small choker, golden earrings, and pink lip gloss, showcasing her charms as the eldest one among them all. Her body was just as mature and curvy as Momo's, perhaps a little more as she was older. "The headliner has appeared," shouted Minetta to the heavens as he cried tears of bliss. "Crap, Minetta, I can't take this anymore. What should I do?" asked Denki, also crying tears of joy. "Who knows? I'd be taking photos right now," cried Kasei. "Do whatever you want," muttered Kyoka in embarrassment at the sight of the trio. The pervert trio were not the only ones taken aback by Melissa's beauty. Even Shoto and Tenya stalled for a second upon seeing Melissa before turning their attention to somewhere else. Izuku had a harder time to pull his gaze away from Melissa. He could feel the stares of his girlfriends all glaring at him as he quickly shifted his eyes to the side, looking away guiltily. "We have another rival," thought all the girls at once as they looked at Melissa, taking in the fact she was just as beautiful and sexy as they were, perhaps even more due to her age. But just looks wouldn't have taken Izuku's attention away from them, though. They knew that there was something deeper within that pulled Izuku's attention to Melissa, and from the looks of it, Melissa was feeling the same way as she gave Izuku some side glances. Central Tower, second floor, reception hall. Inside the reception hall were dozens of guests from sponsors, scientists, and heroes, all gathered around and enjoying themselves with the wide variety of food and drinks provided for them. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the iExpo's reception party. Let's have the #1 hero of Japan, All Might, who is visiting us today, to say a few words and lead us in a toast. Everyone, please give him a round of applause, stated the announcer host of the party. All Might looked around in confusion as everyone began to applaud and cheer for him. Even other heroes from varying countries respected All Might, hearing all his legendary feats. Despite mainly thriving in America and then Japan, almost everyone around the world knew about All Might. Therefore, they weren't offended when All Might was suddenly chosen to lead them in a toast. "Dave, I didn't know about this," whispered All Might, holding a wine cup full of juice to disguise it as drinking champagne. He hadn't expected this, nor did he even have a speech prepared. This was bound to happen once they found out All Might, the symbol of peace, was here, chuckled David with a laugh. "Geez," sighed All Might as he walked towards the stage. Meanwhile, back at the entrance, Tanya tried to call for Jiro and Katsuki, only for none of them to respond. The group figured that the two decided not to come and prepared to enter the elevator to the reception hall. In reality, the two had decided to come, but thanks to Ijiro's lack of directions and sense, as well as Katsuki not paying attention to where the party was even at, the two were lost in the middle of a metallic hallway. All Might coughed before starting off a light speech. "Thanks for inviting me. I am All Might. I don't like formal talk, so..." Before All Might could even start a speech that he had made up just now, a loud sound rang throughout the tower. The television set behind him suddenly blared red with the words emergency on it. Inside a security center, the figures grinned as they had taken over the whole system. "I'm in," grinned the hacker. All over Island, an announcement could be heard. "This is an announcement by the island security system. We have received a report from the security system that an explosive device was placed in the iExpo area. Island will now be in high alert mode. Residents and tourists should return to their homes or lodgings immediately. Those without lodgings for the night can report to the nearest evacuation center for temporary residency. Anyone still outside 10 minutes from may be arrested without warning. Please refrain from going outdoors. In addition, most of the main buildings will be sealed off by the security system. I repeat this." As the same announcement rang throughout the city, people began to hurry back to their homes or lodgings. They could see the security bots all patrolling out in full force, making them realize that perhaps this wasn't an exercise. Businesses quickly cleaned up and closed down their shop, hurrying back to their homes. In various parts of the city, students of 1A and 1B could be seen heading back to their hotels, grumbling about not being able to see a better part of the nightlife. In the reception hall, the doors were suddenly slammed open as armed men with masks, carrying the latest automatic rifles, walked into the room, all pointing at civilians and heroes. "It's just as you heard. We have taken over the security system," announced a voice as the door opened up to reveal a man with a white coat, red hair, and a menacing metallic mask on his face. Beside him were two more terrorists, guarding his sides. "Don't think about putting up a fight," threatened the boss. "If you do..." He directed their attention to the television set, where they could see the security bots that were blocking parts of the road with curious bystanders watching over them. "Then the security machines will bear their fangs of all the good people on this island," finished the man. "That's right. All the people on this island are hostages. Of course, that means you all are, as well." All Might turned around, his face grim as he prepared to take the terrorists by surprise, hoping to catch them off guard. But the boss was smarter than to continue monologuing for too long. "Dude." Instantly, hulls appeared on the floor before a blue cable shot out from them, wrapping all the heroes in attendance and trapping them. The heroes found themselves unable to break off from the restraining devices, nor use their quirks in fear of hitting others. All Might managed to stretch the cables with his muscles, and had been prepared to break out of them before a gunshot rang in the air, freezing him in his place. "Don't move," threatened the boss as he walked up on stage. "If you take even one step, then I'll kill everyone here in a second." "Shit," cursed All Might as he was kicked onto the floor, unable to do anything less he risked the lives of others. "Good boy," said the villain boss as he looked out to the crowd. "You're going to all learn from All Might, and do as I say quietly, right?" All Might locked eyes onto David, telling him that he could break out of the restraints if needed, but David shook his head. "Tashi, we have no choice but to listen to them right now," warned David through his eyes. Years of friendship allowed the two to understand what the other was saying via body language and eyes. "But Dave," thought All Might, unhappy with the situation. "Don't worry, I'll find a way to save everyone. Just bear with it for now," replied David. Reluctantly, All Might agreed, saving his strength for now. He might need it for a later time. Back at the entrance, Shoto got off his phone with a frown. "My phone has no signal. It looks like all reports are being blocked," stated Shoto. Being the son of the #2 hero, he had a few perks such as a stronger cell service than any normal providers, as heroes needed to be able to be contacted at any point in time. Since Endeavor was his father, he had that family plan package. Yet even having such a thing wasn't helping. Seriously, asked Minetta nervously while Kyoka prodded at the elevator buttons. The elevator isn't working either, shouted Kyoka. Seriously? Cried Minetta, his voice reaching an octave higher. I can't believe the security system would switch into a high alert mode just because they found some explosives, mused Melissa as she put her finger under her chin, knowing ins and out of the security details and codes. There had to be something more. Ida, let's go to where the party is being held, advised Izuku as he stepped forward. Why? Asked Tenya in confusion. Because All Might is at the party, replied Izuku. Hearing their teacher and #1 hero present, the students all breathed a sigh of relief, thinking everything would be okay now. Melissa, can you get us to the party? Asked Izuku. If we use the emergency stairs, I think we can get close to the party, nodded Melissa, pointing to the corner room where the doors leading to the stairs were. Please lead the way, asked Izuku, with the others all nodding in agreement. Wolfram, the leading boss villain of the crew, grinned as he patrolled around the area, making vague statements when one of the heroes demanded to know what he was after. Wolfram kicked the hero in the chin for such a remark before his earpiece began to ring. Listening into it, he grinned as he got his next set of directions. Then, as if looking around, David's assistant, Sam, caught his eye, as if by chance due to the name tag. You're a researcher here, right? Asked Wolfram as he walked up to Sam. Take him. What? Why? Asked Sam in a panic as two terrorists marched up to Sam, grabbing his arms to take him away. Stop, said David firmly as he walked up, unable to handle this injustice. He is my assistant. What do you plan to do with him? Well, if it isn't David's shield, grinned Wolfram as he turned around, the famous scientist who won the Nobel Prize. You'll come too. And if I refuse? Asked David bravely. Wolfram grinned before replying, then somewhere on this island, someone's scream will ring out. David gritted his teeth before agreeing to follow them for now. As All Might watched his friend go, he growled as his muscles began to bulge. Dave, will I be able to defeat the villains and get the security systems working again? Especially in my body right now. No, I must do it. Because I am a symbol of peace. Thought All Might as he began to prepare to free himself. Before he could do so, a flash of light caught his eyes from above. Quickly looking up in fear that a sniper was trained on him, he sighed a breath of relief when he saw it was Izuku with his phone flashlight on, flashing intermittently at him to attract his attention. All Might has noticed us, said Izuku as he saw his mentor now looking up. Jiro, can you do it? Kyoka nodded as her earjacks were plugged into the ground, capable of hearing everything going on inside the reception hall. Please talk, gestured Izuku to All Might, pointing to his ears to let him know they could hear him through the glass ceiling. We're listening. All Might nodded before conveying that a message that the villains had taken over the tower, controlled the security system, and was holding everyone on the island hostage. The heroes present were also hostage, including himself. His last orders were for Izuku and the others to get away as far as possible while remaining safe. Kyoka gulped nervously before relaying the message to Izuku and the others. They all soon quickly hid back in the emergency staircases, discussing their choices laid out before them. Tenya, Momo, Tsuyu, and Denki were in favor of following orders and finding other pro-heroes to help, but Melissa rejected that plan, as the place had been built with the same level as Tartarus, the special prison for villain criminals, built distantly from any form of civilization. Considering that it was built to hold the world's most dangerous criminals with the highest security standards, escape from the tower just wasn't feasible. Kyoka stood up in annoyance when Denki suggested they just wait it out, only for Minetta and Kasei to argue that they would be fighting villains that managed to capture even All Might. As everyone looked around, throwing ideas and arguments about the situation, Izuku stood up from his kneeling position. I'm going, declared Izuku with a steely and determined gaze. I'm going to save them. You're planning to fight against those villains. Didn't you learn anything from USJ? Cried out Minetta. I learned that there are things I just can't back down, replied Izuku as he stood up. I learned that if I only fought my own safety, then others could be hurt because I didn't stand up to fight to help. We're training to be heroes. It's our business to meddle in these things. I won't stay and hide knowing there is something I can do to help others. So I'm going. As Izuku stood up to leave, Melissa quickly grabbed his arm, stopping him for a second. I think I know of a way to save everyone without fighting villains, explained Melissa quickly. Island's security system is on the top floor of this tower. If the villains have taken control of the system, then the authentication locks and passwords have been disabled. We should be able to restart the system. We just need to get away from the eyes of the villains and get to the top floor, then maybe we can save everyone. As Izuku's eyes whitened as did a few others, Kyoka chimed in for clarification. What do you mean get away from the eyes of the villains? How? Currently, none of us have actually been harmed. I think the villains aren't used to working with the security systems, theorized Melissa. Avoid fighting and get the system back to normal, huh? Hummed Shoto as the others began to look up in agreement. But the villains are waiting on the top floor, frowned Momo in worry. There might not need to fight at all if we do this right, reasoned Izuku. If we can get the system back to normal, then All Might and the hostages will be released. If that happens, then the tables will be turned in an instant. Deku, let's do it. Voiced Chako confidently. I don't want to sit around and do nothing if there's something I could do. I think that's something that's more important than whether we're heroes or not. Asterikai would scold us for being lazy if we didn't do something, nodded Itsuka as she pumped her fist. I'm in this too. Izuku, stated Shoto, drawing attention from Izuku. I'll go too. Soon everyone was clamoring to join despite their nervousness. I'll turn us back if I decide we cannot anymore, voiced Tenya as he walked up. If you're okay with that, then I'll go too. Izuku nodded, appreciating Tenya's down-to-earth tendencies to prevent them from getting over their heads. We'll be sure to make sure none of you get over your heads, nodded Yui from Tenya's side. Minetta snapped in tears as he saw everyone joining in, figuring out he didn't have a choice in the matter now. Melissa smiled as she saw everyone getting hyped up when Izuku walked up to her. Melissa, you should stay here, advised Izuku, not wanting to get her into danger, as she wasn't trained to fight like they were. I'm coming too, rejected Melissa with a fierce tone. You guys don't have anyone that can change the settings of the security system. I'm a student at the academy. I think I can be useful. I might just get in the way until we get to the top floor, but let me help protect everyone, too. Please. Within Melissa was that feeling, that small dream that had never completely died. The dream to become a hero despite being quirkless. And now, she could at least help others with what she can do right now. Izuku saw that fire in her eyes before slowly nodding in acceptance. Fine. But stay close to us all. Don't ever get separated, alright? Melissa nodded in agreement as Izuku took her hands in his. We'll save not only your dad but All Might and everyone else in a flash. Whispered Izuku before turning towards the others. Everyone, let's go. Right? All Might coughed into his hands as the restraint cables bound all over him, contemplating on what to do when he decided to take a peek back up to the glass ceiling. He was lucky that none of the villains ever thought to look up in a hostage situation, focusing solely on their hostages. There, he saw Izuku waving at him, his eyes full of confidence. Young Midoriya, those eyes. Don't tell me, no, run away. Though All Might, conveying his words and emotions through his eyes. Izuku understood as he shook his head, his eyes conveying the message that he wasn't going to run, that he was going to save them all, doing whatever they could do. Izuku gave All Might a big grin, sticking his hand out before giving All Might a thumbs up and a chuckle before turning around to leave. He's going after all, huh? Sighed All Might to himself before chuckling to himself mentally. I know I must reproach him as a teacher for his actions, but if you don't move now, you're not a hero. As my successor, I can only trust and praise you if everything goes well. So go. I'll believe you can break us out of this situation. We're counting on you, use Aegis. Let's do this. Announced Izuku as he ran back to the others. David and Sam had been brought to the top floor into the control room via elevator, where they were ordered to unlock the vault or die. Seeing they had no choice, David obeyed for now. Meanwhile, Izuku and the others were forced to take emergency stairs to avoid detection. As they reached the 30th floor, Izuku couldn't help but turn to Melissa in curiosity, asking her what the top floor level was. 200th floor, panted Melissa, who was somehow able to keep up despite not having trained to be a hero. Seriously? We have to climb that much? Cried Minetta in horror. Not even I have enough air to blow after that, gulped Kasei. It's better than running into villains, replied Momo. Kiro, but if we run out of energy when we get there it might prove more harmful, reasoned Siu. Nonetheless, they kept running up the stairs. Luckily Momo had created some comfortable running shoes for them all, switching out the high heels that some of them had been wearing. Well, at least most of them ran. Siu more or less hopped up the stairs with her quirk. Melissa, do you want me to use my quirk on you? Offered Chako as she turned around, noticing Melissa starting to lag behind. Thanks, but I'm fine, panted Melissa, who had somehow managed to keep a pristine look despite climbing 55 flights of stairs. Save your power when we really need it. Izuku frowned as he slowed down, letting Melissa catch up. He could see Melissa was really pushing herself to the limit. Making a quick decision, he suddenly scooped her up bridal style, making her yelp in surprise. I can, began Melissa, only for Izuku to shake his head. We need you rested enough to operate the system when we get there. If you're too tired, then this plan will fall apart. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. I've carried a lot heavier stuff while running before, interrupted Izuku, just let me help you. Melissa could only nod as she closed her eyes, taking the chance to regain her breath. As she did, she couldn't help but notice how firm, how warm, and how gentle Izuku's muscles felt. Not to mention as she inhaled, she took in Izuku's scent and found it inviting. No, don't do this, he's 2 years younger with other girls clearly interested in him. Thought Melissa, shaking her head. But he's so nice and warm, argued another voice in her head. Dad was 2 years younger than Mom when they got married. He actually believes in us despite being quirkless, unlike a lot of our classmates in the support course. As Melissa argued with herself, she was unaware of Izuku being dense, nor the glares she was starting to get from the girls. They had hit the 80th floor when they found their way blocked by a shutter, preventing them from going up. What should we do? Break it? Asked Shoto. Melissa shook her head. If we do that, then the security system will react, and the villains will notice us. Then can't we go from here? Asked Minetta as he pulled open his side door, finding it unlocked, but unknowingly triggering an alarm to the control room. Seeing as Minetta had already opened the door, the others had no choice but to go through the door, risking detection now because of Minetta's rashness. Not to mention it was the only other way that Melissa knew how to get past the shutters without breaking it. At the top floor, the main villain hacker, who wore a metallic headgear with a blue eyepiece, pulled up surveillance on the 80th floor to find Izuku and the others running in the hall. Quickly, he notified Wolfram about the intruders. Let down all partitions on the 80th floor, ordered Wolfram as he waved his arms to two of his men. Don't let those kids get away. As the two of them ran out, All Might couldn't help be worried. They had done well so far to not get caught, but just for how long? As the group ran, they saw the shutters closing down each section of the paths in front of them and behind them. Todoroki, shouted Tenya as he saw the doors right in front of them. Shoto nodded as he quickly used his quirk to create ice, blocking the shutters from fully closing. Tenya quickly ran, hopping past the gap in the shutters before activating his quirk, speeding up before completely destroying the door and his pants with a powerful kick. Everyone, over here, shouted Tenya as the others quickly hopped past the gap. They quickly ran into the room, finding themselves in the plant factory where scientists researched how quirks could influence plants. As they ran, Kyuka's ears picked up the small humming noise of an elevator coming up, stopping them before pointing towards the main elevator. There, they saw the electronic panel signaling someone was coming up. Figuring that it was the villains using it, they quickly went to hide behind some bushes. I wonder if we can use that elevator to get to the top floor, murmured Denki. Would be better than running all the way up, nodded Kasei. No, only authorized people can operate the elevator. And it's made as sturdy as a bomb shelter, so we can't destroy it, rejected Melissa. Come on, let us use the conveniences of modern civilization, complained Minetta, getting tired of running. Soon, the elevator stopped right on the 80th floor, opening up to reveal two villains wearing the same terrorist clothes as the others, only unmasked now. One was a skinny, strange-looking man with pale yellow skin and a face similar to a goat with a mohawk, while the other was a rather short, stocky, middle-aged man with a round head and a thick neck. They said the kids were here, said the short one as he looked around. They came to an annoying place, growled the taller one as he looked at all the plant life around the area, taking in where they could be hiding in such a giant area. They all tried to stay silent as they could, hoping to rush past the villains without any trouble. Then, Kyuka's ears picked up more footsteps, looking towards the source of it. Izuku's ears picked it up a few seconds later, wondering just who it was that was with them. I found you, you damn kids. The group jerked up in fear at this, thinking their hiding spot had been exposed when a second later. Ha! What did you say, you bastard? Shouted Katsuki as he and Ijiro stood in front of the two villains. What are you doing here? Demanded the shorter one. That's what I want to know, fired back Katsuki in annoyance before Ijiro decided to intervene. We got lost, said an embarrassed Ijiro as he walked forward. Where do we go for the reception? The two villains looked at each other, unable to tell if the two boys were seriously lost or not. There had been signs everywhere pointing to where the reception banquet was, which was the second floor, and these children had somehow winded up on the 80th floor. Sounds like bullshit, Daigo, whispered the taller one. Same, we should get rid of them, Nobu, replied the shorter one. I can see through you. Don't lie to me, shouted Nobu as his hand suddenly expanded and morphed, ripping apart the glove he was wearing. While the expansion was similar to Itsuka's quirk, they could see skin webbing connecting to all his fingers. With a roar, Nobu threw what seemed to be a ball of air that had gathered inside the palms of his hand. A stream of air could be seen being forcefully displaced as it flew at Ijiro, who was still looking confused at the sudden violence. Shoto immediately blocked the attack with a large wall of ice, saving Ijiro from being hit. The two boys realized just whose quirk had blocked the attack before looking towards the source to see Shoto standing there. Shoto looked back towards the villain, realizing that the ice wouldn't hold them for long, as echoes of impact began ringing in the air, with shards of ice falling. We'll stall for time here, said Shoto as he quickly created an ice platform beneath Izuku and the others, who had come out of their hiding spot. Look for a way to get to the top. I'll be right behind you all after we clean this place up. Itsuka looked at Izuku, who noticed and looked back at her. The two of them nodded as Itsuka quickly jumped off the ice platform, before it could go up too high for her to jump off safely. I'm staying to help clean up, said Itsuka with a tone that booked no argument. I'm interested in fighting that goat guy anyways. You're all here? Blinked to Jiro in confusion. What's going on, Todoroki? You didn't hear the broadcast? Asked Shoto in slight amusement and shock. Villains have taken over this tower. I'll explain later, but for now, the villains. Just as he finished constructing the ice tower for the others to jump off to the railway, holes in the glacier appeared to allow the villains to walk out with ease. You kids, growled Daigo as his eyes opened and began to shake. Soon, his whole body transformed into a big purple humanoid with bulging muscles, long hair, and red eyes. Shoto immediately sent a wave of ice at Daigo, only for Daigo to pulverize through the ice, walking forward as if it didn't hinder him, before launching another punch at where they all were. Itsuka and the others quickly jumped back to dodge the attack, while Katsuki managed to maneuver himself in midair, thrusting himself forward and blasting Daigo with a point-blank range blast, before Daigo could even react. Katsuki grinned as he could hear Daigo yell out in pain as he landed, only to see Daigo shrugging off the explosion with a roar as he wound his fist up. Katsuki had been moving, but Ijiro had bumped him away to protect him, hardening himself as he took the punch with crossed arms. The impact launched Ijiro through the ice pillar and into the wall. Katsuki called out for Ichiro, only to hear Shoto shout a warning. Katsuki immediately blasted himself up, dodging a stream of displaced air. Shoto fired a wave of ice at Nobu, only for the villain to destroy the attack with several swings of his hands. "Eat this!" shouted Itsuka as she enlarged her hands far bigger than Nobu's own. Nobu's eyes widened as he quickly jumped back in time to dodge a pulverizing punch to the ground that broke the cement. Even after dodging, Nobu could feel the air being displaced from the amount of power. "A similar quirk to mine," thought Nobu before his eyes narrowed. "No. She seems more focused on just enlarging her hands and increasing strength, while mine is focused on range and displacement. But if she can't get near me, then it's pointless. This'll be my win." "You kids aren't normal kids, are you?" asked Nobu as Itsuka quickly jumped back to join up with Shoto and Katsuki. "What are you?" demanded Daigo. "Like hell we'll tell you, you damn villains," barked Katsuki as sparks began to light up in his hands. "You're not worth telling my name to," nodded Shoto. "We're just here to kick your ass," grinned Itsuka as she clenched her fist. The others broke through the other side of the room, only to find the shutters sealing their exit to the stairs. They quickly looked around for another way up when Izuku noticed a ceiling hatch at the far side of the room. "The maintenance room for the sunlight system," exclaimed Melissa. "Wouldn't that have an emergency ladder?" asked Tenyu with a grin, knowing that any proper building that followed safety codes would have such a thing. "It's true that there's a manual one, but we can only access it from the inside," replied Melissa. Izuku was already winding his arm back, ready to stretch out to grab it when Momo stopped him. Putting her hand inside her dress a little, she used her quirk to create a small attachable detonator, tossing it right onto the hatch before it exploded. "If you go outside through the space in the vent, you should be able to use the outside wall to get to the top floor," said Momo, letting the others catch on that they could get inside once more to the upper floors. The only problem was who could fit in such a vent and climb the wall, though. As one, they all turned to Minetta, realizing that his small stature and quirk could be the one to turn it around. "Wait, me?" exclaimed Minetta. Stupid. Stupid. What floor do you think we're on?" "Hold up, let us convince him," said Denki as he and Kasei dragged Minetta to the side before Kyoka and Ichako could plead with him. "If you save everyone and become distinguished, then they'll interview you. And you'll become super popular with the girls," whispered Denki. "Think of all those fans just eagerly waiting to get to know you, perhaps on a more personal basis," nodded Kasei. "Harem, harem, harem," whispered both boys to Minetta's ears from each side, letting the words echo in his brain. "Alright, I'll do it for it," shouted Minetta, his motivation skyrocketing. Kasei quickly made some air platforms for Minetta to hop on towards the opening. There, Minetta began to scale up the tower, using his pop-off quirk to do so. As he climbed up the tower at a rapid pace, he kept chanting to himself about a harem, using it as motivation to ignore the pain on his scalp, as well as the height he was climbing. Upon reaching the maintenance room via the vent, he tenderly removed the small explosive that Momo had made. Minetta was sorely tempted to keep it, considering just where it had come from, but it was just slightly more important that he got that ladder down. The ventilation shaft opened up, letting Minetta drop down onto the ground before quickly running to the side, dropping down the long ladder for everybody else to catch up. Now, give me some love." "Just the ladies are fine, just the ladies," drooled Minetta. "You were amazing, Minetta," complimented Melissa as she was the final one to climb up, as expected of a student hero. Though it wasn't exactly what Minetta wanted, he still eagerly took the praise anyways, becoming even more hyped up. "Control room. Hey, you still can't find them?" asked the peach-haired man as he looked over the hacker's shoulder. The hacker growled as he managed to pull up a video of the students, only for the camera to suddenly be destroyed by Kyoka. "Boy, 80th floor. The kids are getting away. What the hell are you guys doing?" demanded the peach-haired man. "80th floor." Daigo grunted in pain as he felt another explosion hit him, followed by a large fist that sent him stumbling back. Daigo tried to catch the two brats, but they were too quick for him to get a lock on. Especially Katsuki with his explosions that kept blinding him with light and smoke. With a roar, Daigo slammed the ground, creating a small shockwave towards Katsuki and Itsuka. "Side ponytail, don't get in my way," shouted Katsuki as he blasted himself forward, dodging past the rocks as he blasted Daigo into the glacier. Shoto slid across the room, dodging several attacks from Nobu, before firing another path of ice at him. Nobu ran forward, using his hands to help accelerate his speed before jumping in the air. With a few swipes, Daigo blocked the attack, letting chunks of ice balls fall into the ground. Shoto immediately noticed this before realizing that Nobu displaced matter with his hands, rather than making it disappear. Damn it, they just never end. Growled Katsuki as he noticed Daigo slowly getting up once more, getting pissed that Daigo wasn't down yet. I can't keep playing with you forever. Dumping in the air, Katsuki's hands began to let off a chain of explosions as he began to spin forward at Daigo. Daigo roared as he accepted the challenge, thinking he could tank it through before finishing off Katsuki. Hotzer impact. Roared Katsuki as shot forward, surprising Daigo at the speed that he couldn't even raise his arms to block the attack. The explosion connected to his chest, sending Daigo flying away unconscious, as well as transforming back to normal. Nobu howled in anger as he displaced air towards Katsuki, intending on sending him flying. Itsuka, however, got in between the two, and with a well-timed thrust punch as well as enlarging her hands, forced the displaced air away. She's learning Curse Nobu as Katsuki flicked his arms at him. Nobu felt wet droplets on his hands, wondering what the hell they were when Katsuki remarked that it was his sweat, and how it was like nitroglycerin. Shoto quickly capitalized on this as he fired a blast of fire at Nobu. Nobu was so shocked to see a fire quirk from Shoto after all the ice that he couldn't react fast enough. The active sweat from Katsuki made contact with the fire and exploded, sending Nobu flying back. A second later, Itsuka was already on him, raising her hands up once more. Good night. Grinned Itsuka as she slammed her fist into Nobu's chest, knocking him unconscious. Shoto and Katsuki quickly went to check on Ichiro to see that he was alright, just simply stuck into the wall. The Nomu at Yusuke punched harder than this, grinned Ichiro as he tried to pry himself free, but I can't seem to move. Idiot, just turn off your quirk, lectured Katsuki. Ichiro blinked as he realized that he could have freed himself all this time, shaking his head in slight embarrassment. Katsuki mumbled a small thanks to Ichiro, who grinned at the praise, only for Katsuki to try to pull back his compliment. Alright, let's go after Midoriya and the others, ordered Shoto as they began to run towards the same direction Izuku and the others had taken, with Itsuka quickly summarizing what had happened. They had to stop as security bots suddenly began to flood the area. Looks like round 2, stated Itsuka as she raised her arms up, as did the boys. Let's do this, shouted Ichiro. Boss, these are no ordinary kids, reported the hacker to Wolfram. They're students from UA High School's Hero Course Hero Reserves. The brats are probably trying to restore the security system, mused Wolfram. You started the security machine on the 80th floor, right? Then raise all the partitions on floors 100 to 130. Huh? Asked a confused hacker. If they wanted to stop the students from interfering, then the shutters should be closed to prevent them entry. He wasn't sure why Wolfram wanted them open again. Do what I say, ordered Wolfram with a calm grin. The students themselves had noticed that the shutters had been raised once more, wondering just why such a thing had happened. They're leading us somewhere, aren't they? Concluded Momo. Kiro, a trap for us, nodded Tsuyu bluntly. Even so, to get a little further ahead, we'll take it, said Izuku. We'll go where they want us to go for now. Soon, they made it to the 130th floor laboratory, where they saw dozens of the security robots patrolling the room. It looks like the enemy has changed from shutting us in to trying to capture us, whispered Tenya. I'm sure they realized that we're UA's students, nodded Izuku, knowing the system would have logged their information in upon entering the island. It was only a matter of time of matching the faces. But in that case, we know what to expect, too, declared Momo as her back began to glow. Having worn largely backless dress, she immediately created a large insulation sheet for them to take cover. Right, let's go with plan A, then, agreed Tenya, Kaminari. Alright, I'll do my best, too. Grinned Denki as he cracked his knuckles before holding out his wrists. I'm counting on you, Iida. Tenya nodded as he began to rapidly spin, taking Denki with him for a ride. With a roar, Tenya hurled Denki up into the air, aiming perfectly right at the middle of the walkway where the robots were. Take this, indiscriminate shock 1.3 million volts, shouted Denki as he blasted the area with his powerful lightning. The robots immediately withdrew into their shell, protecting their circuits with their tough outer shells. They defended, warned Izuku, who was the only one who chose not to hide under the insulation sheet as he was immune to the shocks. Damn it, then, 2 million volts, cried out Denki as he upped the juice in an effort to break through the shells. Idiot, if you do that, called out Kyoka, but it was too late. Yay, giggled Denki as he went past his limit, sputtering down into his happy form. You'll become stupid, sighed Kyoka, seeing it was too late for that advice. But thanks to him, the security machines have been stopped, reasoned Izuku. Izuku had to bite back his words as the machines burst out of their shells and instantly tied up Denki. In an instant, they began to move towards the others in unison. We have no choice, everyone, growled Tenya, plan B. Right? Shouted Momo as she made a smoke grenade filled with specific dust particles to help hinder the machines. We can jam their communications with this. As she began to make more, the other girls were about to reach for them when Yui stopped them, grabbing all of them. "Let me touch them before we throw it all," stated Yui stoically as she touched all the grenades with her 5 fingers. After passing them out, the girls all threw it in different areas. Just before landing, though, Yui activated a quirk, increasing the size of the grenade before it blew up, increasing the explosion and the smoke that came up from it. Minetta began to hurl his grape-colored balls in an attempt to help Denki, while blocking some of the machines from approaching them. The robots rolled into the ball, getting stuck on contact. Several more crashed into the stuck robots, creating a small blockade that didn't last long, as several more began to jump above the blockade. Seeing that they didn't have a choice but to get into close quarters, Izuku and Tenya quickly got ready. Izuku tossed his suit coat, his right arm raised as the bracelet on his wrist activated, cowling up around Izuku's arm and fist. With a dash, Izuku stepped forward, winding his arm back before launching a right hook into the lead robot with 50% of one for all. The robots were sent launching into the air, crashing into the walls from Izuku's attack. "Certainly feels sturdy," grinned Izuku, not even feeling any impact from the hit. With his other gear, he had to be wary of it breaking due to wear and tear if he used too much power. "Izuku, tone down that power, we can't afford too much stuff to be damaged here," warned Melissa as Tenya quickly grabbed Denki, who was still giggling. "Sorry," apologized Izuku immediately. "Hiro, where are the security machines?" asked Tenya upon landing. "They're coming from the left," warned Kyoka as she pulled back her earjacks from the ground. They quickly ran to the right to avoid the security robots, before Chako commented about the cool glove. "You bought it, huh?" smiled Melissa. "I never figured out how to take it off," dropped Izuku with a nervous smile. Melissa blinked before blushing, forgetting that she had never had the chance to teach Izuku how to take it off. They soon seemed to shake off the robots, making their way through the 138th floor, where all the servers for the tower were. However, just as they were about to cross the server room, the door opened up to reveal more security robots waiting for them. "A trap," shouted Tenya in anger. "Then we'll break right through them," growled Izuku as he dug his feet in, only for Melissa to suddenly grab his arm. "We can't," warned Melissa. "If the servers here are damaged, it might affect the security system, too." Before they could react, even more security robots jumped out from the walkways above. "Guess how many are there?" shouted Kasei and Minetta in anguish. "We'll stop the security machines here," declared Momo as she knelt down. "Midoriya, take Melissa and find a different route," offered Tenya as he placed Denki down, who was still in his happy state, with Kyoka quickly taking up the task to keep him safe. Izuku nodded as he quickly turned around, looking for another way out. "Ichako, come with us," Melissa quickly suggested. Ichako looked torn between going with Izuku and Melissa, and helping the others until Tenya shook his head, telling Ichako to go with him. As Tenya began to rev up his engines, Momo created a cannon with Yui helping to enlarge it, so she could conserve some of her fat storages. Momo then sat back as she started to create ammo, leaving Yui to man the cannon to fire. Jiro stabbed any security robots nearing their position, using her accelerated heartbeat to crack through the tough outer shell. Minetta was hurling as many balls as he could to trap the security robots without any heat of his scalp. Suyu leaped into action, sticking onto the railing before using her tongue to snatch one of the robots. Then, with a twist of her head, she threw the security robot into a wall, making sure not to damage the servers. Kasei was taking deep breaths and creating air walls to block any of the robots from getting too close. Sadly, even with their best attempts, they were soon overpowered. Tenya was the first to go down when his engine stalled, allowing the robots to take advantage of this by wrapping him in restraints. Suyu was next as several managed to pounce behind her, despite her best efforts to keep moving due to numbers. Momo collapsed into the floor, having used up all her fat reserves to the fact that if one paid attention, her ribs were starting to show. The rest were taken down by sheer numbers and restrained onto the floor. Izuku and the others ran forward, with Izuku taking glances back at the way they had left. He couldn't help but worry for the others, but Ichako and Melissa pushed him forward, telling him that if they were caught, then there would be no point having the others stay behind to delay the robots. Soon, Melissa guided them outside, to where the wind power generator system was. "If we go up the tower, the security machines are probably waiting to ambush us," hypothesized Melissa, "so we'll go up to the top all at once from here. If we can get to the emergency exit all the way up there, if we have Ichako's quirk that lets her make everything she touches weightless, then we can do it." As she said that, Ichako and Izuku could see Melissa was shaking in fear as her hands couldn't stay steady. Yet at the sight of this, both of them couldn't help but admire Melissa's courage to go through with such a plan. With a nod, Izuku quickly carried Melissa on her back with Ichako activated a quirk on the two of them. Izuku quickly jumped up into the air, ready to extend his arms to wrap it around Ichako's waist, when more security robots poured into the area. "Ichako, deactivate your quirk and run," shouted Izuku as he already began to make preparations to shoot his arm towards the nearest pole. "I can't," refused Ichako. "If I do that, then we can't save everyone." Izuku was ready to just hurl his fist at the robots to save Ichako when... Die. shouted Katsuki as he jumped in between a Chaco and some robots, blasting apart several of them. Seconds later, a large patch of ice appeared before several others, freezing them in place. The three of them quickly looked towards the other door to see Itsuka, Shoto, and Ijiro rushing in to help out. "Are you alright?" asked Itsuka as she punched a robot out of the tower. "Yeah, Deku and Melissa are heading to the top floor right now," pointed at Chaco. "I'm using my quirk to lighten them up. Then we're going to stop these guys right here," ordered Shoto as he fired another stream of ice. "Don't tell me what to do," barked Katsuki as he blasted another one away. Izuku smiled at the reinforcements before a gust of wind blew him and Melissa off course from the door. With a growl, Izuku stretched his arm out, grabbing the nearest pole to slingshot him back. However, before he could fully do so, the pole he had grabbed on broke. The result was a slight misfire, sending him towards the tower once more to the lower levels than the emergency exit as planned. Seeing a wall in front of them, Izuku clenched his right fist as he used one for all at 100%, knowing the walls were built to be extremely sturdy. With a roar, Izuku punched a hole right through the tower. Seeing that the two were inside the tower now, Achako quickly released her quirk on them, focusing on the more immediate threat now. Back at the reception hall, Wolfram frowned as he received the latest reports. "Send Swordkill and the others," ordered Wolfram as he walked out of the room. "Defend the control room until I get there." Izuku quickly inflated himself, letting Melissa bounce off his body before deflating himself once more, landing onto the floor safely. "Are you alright?" asked Izuku as he helped Melissa up. "Just a few scratches, otherwise I'm fine," nodded Melissa as she looked up towards the stairs. Her eyes widened as she tackled Izuku. Izuku felt something flash past him as he and Melissa rolled away from whatever it was, as well as hear Melissa scream in pain. Izuku immediately pushed himself up, placing his body in front of Melissa, as he raised his right arm to block a sword slash from the peach-haired man named Swordkill. "You revolting kids," growled Swordkill as he tried to push Izuku down before raising his other hand, letting it transform into another metal blade. "Don't pretend to be heroes." Izuku's left fist quickly shot up towards the other blade. Swordkill grinned, thinking that the boy was desperate when he noticed Izuku's whole left arm had twisted around thoroughly, like a corkscrew. Just as Izuku's fist was about to make contact with his blade, the arm began to unravel, spinning like a top. The result was that Swordkill's sword hand slid right past Izuku's left arm, due to the rotational force of his attack, missing everything while Izuku's punch slammed right into Swordkill's face. "Son of a bee," cursed Swordkill in pain, only to be interrupted when Izuku immediately grabbed his other arm with his gauntlet-covered hand, and threw him into the ground. Swordkill coughed as he opened his eyes, the eyes growing bigger as Izuku's foot rose up from the ground, aiming to stomp on his chest. Swordkill crossed his metal arms to protect himself as Izuku's foot slammed down. Swordkill felt the air drive out of his lungs despite using his arms to cover his chest, and his arms felt even numb despite having transformed. Izuku wasn't done yet, though. He saw Melissa's upper arm sporting a gash from Swordkill's attack. An attack meant for him, and Melissa was the one who took it. Anger wasn't a correct emotion on Izuku's face right now. It was more of incandescent rage that someone like Melissa was injured because of him. Izuku lifted his foot once more and slammed it down, causing the ground beneath Swordkill to fracture. He did it 3 more times, causing the ground to fracture even more, as Swordkill could only protect himself with his arms crossed. Izuku then raised his legs vertically up, doing a perfect vertical split, as his right leg stretched out to the ceiling. Mesolithic smash. Izuku axe kick smashed right into Swordkill's arms and chest for the last time. The ground beneath them shattered as Izuku's kick drove Swordkill down 2 levels before stopping. With such damage, there was little chance Swordkill would be threatening anyone soon. "Melissa," whispered Izuku as he quickly ran to her, grabbing a handkerchief that he had kept in his pocket. "It's alright, it's not too bad," breathed Melissa, wincing as Izuku quickly tied up the wound. "I'm sorry," apologized Izuku, his eyes full of guilt. "I couldn't protect you. In the end, it was you who saved me." "You should be saying, thanks, right?" smiled Melissa as she put her other hand over Izuku's arm, conveying that she was fine. Izuku looked up to see Melissa with a smile, her eyes still bright and ready to continue. With a smile, Izuku nodded in reply as he finished tying the wound. The two of them ran up the stairs, heading to the 200th floor. 2 more terrorists tried to stop them by shooting, only for Izuku to rush right past them, and knocking them out by grabbing their heads and smacking them together. Reaching the top floor, Izuku and Melissa rushed through the hallways as silently as they could, aiming for the control room. Just as they ran past another corner, the two of them noticed the vault door was already opened. Taking a peek inside, they saw David and Sam inside it. Thinking that the villains had taken the two to the storage room to force them to do something, the two opted to rescue David and Sam first before heading to the control room. David felt his forehead dripping with sweat as he accessed the control panel in the storage room. Being one of the top scientists of Island, he had high-level access to the console he was using, but he had to be careful about it. After a few seconds, David grinned as he managed to break through the storage system. "I was able to unlock it. Go to block 1147, ordered David as Sam quickly rushed over to the storage area. I'm opening it. A second later, an electronic hum could be heard as the storage block 1147 hissed open to reveal a metal briefcase that Sam quickly grabbed. You did it, Professor. Grinned Sam as he opened the case to reveal some strange-looking items. Everything is here. David sighed a breath of relief as he looked over it, seeing his invention was still there. Out of everything he had invented, this specific device and research data was something he would never give to anyone. Everything's going as planned, isn't it? It looks like the villains are doing well, remarked Sam as he closed the suitcase. Thank you. It was all because you arranged everything for me, Sam, thanked David as he quickly climbed up the stairs to meet up with Sam. Papa. David froze as he quickly turned towards the entrance of the storage room to see Izuku and Melissa, looking at them in shock and horror. Melissa, what are you doing here? Asked David in a shocked tone. What do you mean arranged? Demanded Melissa as she stepped forward, her eyes locked onto her father, though her step slightly lopsided. Papa, don't tell me you're the one behind this incident, in order to get that device. Is it true, Papa? David clenched his fist, unable to meet his daughter's gaze for the moment before steeling himself. It is, admitted David. What? Why? Shouted Melissa. The professor is only trying to get back what was stolen from him, explained Sam, hefting the briefcase up once more for them to see. This groundbreaking invention that mechanically amplifies quirks. Sam went on to further explain that while it was still being tested, unlike the drugs that amplified quirks, the device could do the same without affecting the body. However, David's sponsors not only confiscated the invention and research data that David had poured hours of work into, but froze the research itself in fear that if it was let known to the entire world, the structure of superhuman society would change too drastically that the government wouldn't be able to handle it, leading to anarchy. David had no choice but to give in to their demands after being pressured by several governments, but he did so with anger that his research was being taken from him. Then it was Sam who had suggested using villains to steal everything back and go underground with the research. Sam had done all the preparation of hiring fake villains to smuggle all the equipment needed for the heist to work. David had still been hesitant the whole time until the day of the plan when he finally agreed. No, breathed out Melissa in disbelief. This is a lie, isn't it, Papa? Tell me it's a lie. It's not a lie, stated David with a flat tone. Melissa's whole body tensed as she accused her father of being a fake. That a real father wouldn't have done anything like this. It's for All Might, David finally answered Melissa, her third why, silencing Melissa while sending a shiver down Izuku's spine. You two probably don't know, but his quirk is disappearing. However, if he uses my device, then it can go back to normal. No, it might even give him more abilities than he started with. The #1 hero of the world, the symbol of peace, he'll regain his light once more and save so many people again. Izuku could see the admiration, the fanaticism, the belief that David had in All Might as David continued on. So please, let me just hand this device over to All Might. There's no time to remake it. After he gets it, I don't care what sort of punishment I receive. I've prepared myself. They risk their lives, shouted Melissa, interrupting David's rant. What do you think Izuku and the others went through to save the hostages? Melissa brandished the arm with the makeshift bandage as she tore the handkerchief off to reveal the gash on her arm. David froze, seeing his daughter sporting such an injury. Upon closer inspection, he noticed that Melissa not only had that gash, but several scratches all over her body. What is the meaning of this? Breathed David as he turned to Sam. The villains were fake, right? It should have been all an act. Of course it was an act. Izuku quickly turned towards the source of the voice, only to see several metal poles rushing towards him, wrapping around his body before pushing him into a wall, where several more metallic poles wrapped around his limbs. Before Izuku could do anything, he felt one pierce right into his shoulder. Izuku! Shouted Melissa as Izuku screamed in pain, rushing over to help him. An act pretending to be fake villains, grinned Wolfram as he walked forward with his hacker in tow, stayed there quietly for a bit. Sam, where's the device? David gaped at the scene before hearing that last statement, and tried to pull back. Sam, however, grabbed the briefcase and pushed David away, quickly taking the briefcase to Wolfram. Sam? Questioned David, his emotions giving way to anger at this betrayal. You were planning on giving the device to the villains all along. You're the one who tricked me, replied Sam callously. I served you for so long, but you let your research be frozen so easily, and all the honor and renown we were supposed to get all went away. If I didn't get some sort of compensation out of this, then it was a waste of my time. It was only because of All Might's visit today that you even agreed to this. As David clenched his teeth in anger at his longtime friend assistant's betrayal for greed, Wolfram grinned as he raised his pistol at Sam. Here's the reward I promised you, said Wolfram mockingly as Sam turned back to Wolfram in time to see the pistol fire off. Melissa screamed in shock as blood erupted from Sam's shoulder, seeing someone who had been her uncle for a long time, suddenly fall to the ground. Why? This isn't what you promised, cried Sam as he tried to crawl backward away from Wolfram, whose pistol was still pointed at him. Promise? Mocked Wolfram, I don't remember that. This is your reward, though. The bark of the pistol rang in the air, but instead of Sam being hit, David dove forward in front of Sam, taking the bullet for him. "Papa!" screamed Melissa. "Professor, why?" gasped Sam, unable to believe that the person he had betrayed would save him. "Run away," coughed David as his body was racked in pain. "Papa!" cried Melissa as she ran towards them, causing David's eyes to widen in fear. "Stay away!" shouted David, but Melissa ran forward anyways. Wolfram grinned as he pistol slapped Melissa in the face, sending her rolling into the floor before stepping onto David without mercy. "Feel like playing hero after all this time?" derided Wolfram. "It's no use. No matter what reason you had, you've dirtied your hands with evil deeds. Whether we're fake or real, the crime you committed will not disappear. You're the same as us, now. You can no longer remain a scientist or continue your research, only fall into the darkness of villains. And the first thing you'll do is mass-produce that device for me." "No, give Papa back," cried Melissa as she tried to push herself back up. "Give him back." Wolfram grinned as he turned his gun towards Melissa. "That's right. I should get rid of all the professor's attachments." David's eyes widened in fear as he tried to move. Anything but his daughter. "Asshole," growled a voice that seemed so foreign and familiar to them all. Wolfram's eyes suddenly snapped towards the source of it, who was currently lodged into the wall by his quirk. "Don't you even dare try that," roared Izuku as his hair spiked up, streams of electricity flowing out from his eyes. With one swift jerk, Izuku freed himself from the bindings. In another movement, he pried the metallic pole lodged into his right shoulder and pulled it out. Izuku tossed the bloody pole into the ground, his knees bending. Wolfram quickly tossed David behind him as he placed his hand onto the ground, instantly raising up a metal wall. Izuku jumped forward, throwing his fist right into the metal wall, causing it to dent inwards. "Melissa, go!" shouted Izuku as gusts of winds bellowed from the impact. "I'll save the professor and Sam. So in turn, save everyone else." Melissa's eyes turned sharp as she nodded, running out of the storage room and towards the empty control room now. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.